my doctoral dissertation was very much a intertestamental work, trying to unify Old and New Testaments. So I've always had a heart for that. So I began to see the parallels between Revelation and Genesis, particularly about the new heaven and new earth and the presence of a garden and of a tree of life to which we will have access. And you see, after Adam and Eve's sin, they are barred from the garden. Literally, an angel guards the edge of Eden and keeps them out. And I began to think, well, it says in Revelation that the angels will welcome us to that tree of life. So wouldn't it be great of God if that were even the same angels that had to be stationed, same cherubs, that are later welcoming us in. So, it was motivated by what is the uniqueness of the work of Christ. And I would contend that he brought, through reconciliation, brought us back into the relationship with the Father that was intended in Eden, that intimacy of presence that's empowering, and that we also receive back the authority that was given, that mandate to be fruitful and multiply and rule the earth and to be stewards of all that he created. And so it looked at the different New Testament identities that I think parallel stewardship, such as ambassadors in 2 Corinthians 5 and a holy people in 1 Peter, those types of identities that I think flesh out this new opportunity to live from our original mandate.
Well, I want to operate here in our conversation on a couple of different levels, and I'm actually going to go in reverse order because I love what you were saying about the parallels between the narrative we find in Genesis with respect to the Garden of Eden and the narrative we find in the book of Revelation. So I want to talk about the future and the future restoration, the garden, the new heavens and the new earth.
Right.
But I also want to talk about how we can walk in a measure of what Adam and Eve experienced in the garden, even now through Christ. So let's talk about the future. What do you see as some of the parallels between the stories that we find, or the images that we find in Genesis and Revelation?
I think the view of God is an important one. Ultimately, Adam and Eve sinned out of lacking trust that God had said what he said. They fell to a temptation. And so, so much of the imagery in Revelation is just of the gloriousness of the future, this God who rescues and, has people of all tribes and tongues and people and nations, just so that parallel. Also just the perfection that we see. He says there'll be no more crying or no more pain. You look back, I believe as we read, when God brought the judgment upon Adam and Eve and said, you will have to toil the ground and there'll be pain in childbirth, that implied, the things that were going to be provided for them in the garden. They weren't going to have to toil to receive their provision. And certainly the pictures of heaven that, we will enjoy his presence and it will not, look like this laborious like we sometimes have here. So those were some of the parallels. But I am with you about, just what this means for the life of a believer. Because as you said, there are so many in the culture who would say I'm a good person, but even those in the body would say, well, I'm just holding on until heaven. And so what I feel the book is about is taking up that original mandate. Certainly it's going to be glorious when we're in his presence bodily, but we have something to do while we're here until that return.